I don't know about you, I'm always deeply fond of those kinds of really rough passages that are a little shaky. Darkness and sin and ugliness and, right at the beginning of the Isaiah passage, oh, that you would rip open the heavens and drop in like now, like now. You ever feel that in today's world when you're looking around and you're thinking things are not the way you expected them to be, the way you hoped that they would be, the way you dreamed that they would be, that you wish somebody would just show up and fix it? I've always wanted a good kind of fix-it God. And the unfortunate thing is, part of the way, at least we have discovered since the birth of Christ, part of the way that God fixes things is through us. God works through incarnate beings like us. We are God's hands, feet, mouthpieces, and it is our call to speak those truths. But with Isaiah, I sometimes just wish God would just like rip asunder the sky and pop in and say, "You've got this all wrong. Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the possibility? Where is your working together? Why do you seem to constantly want to tear things apart that I've given you?" So there is the need for us to wait. We want clarity, but somehow we have to do that thing that we talked about in the children's message. We have to look at symbols like this anchor and trust that Christ is the hope we can hope upon. Even though sometimes we can't see it. Now, it's interesting, I threw in, I'm sure everyone will be, when I ask if anyone else would like to read any of the future and light the candles in the future weeks, you're like, okay, but first of all, is there a Hebrew word I'm going to have to know in that? Because, by the way, not interested. But as long as there's no Hebrew word in there or Aramaic word that you're going to kind of toss on us, I'm fine. But I thought Alan and Linda handled it well throughout kava, and nobody fell out of their seat or anything like that. The word kava is about waiting. It's about waiting. But it's an intentional waiting. Let's be honest with each other. How many of you really like to wait for anything? Wait, come on. Raise your hands. Come on, I'm expecting a lot of hands. Not a single one of us like to wait. We are Amazon Prime people. If it can't be delivered today, we don't even want it anymore. I remember when Amazon first came out and I could sign up for an annual, and instead of having to pre-plan things, I could get my books in 2 days. I could be leading a Bible study on Wednesday and wait till Sunday afternoon to order the book because it would be here on Tuesday and I could read it. Not that I would ever do that. I don't want you to ever think that I'm waiting until the Sunday before Wednesday night Bible study to, of course I've read the book 6 months in advance before I come to teach a class. The truth is we are instant people, and this idea of waiting is hard, and we see waiting as passive. Can we be honest about that? Waiting feels like something that's passive. How many of us just look forward to, the doctor says, when you go to see the doctor, show up at least 15 minutes for your appointment so that you can wait an hour and a half to be seen. And if you're not there 15 minutes in advance, I was once on the way to the doctor's office. It was 1 minute before the time I was supposed to be there. They called me on my cell phone. I'm parking my car. They're like, "Are you coming today, Mr. Henry?" It's like, my appointment's in 1 minute. Hello. No, I am coming. I'm in your parking lot. Calm down. I didn't sound very calm, but calm down. Calm down. Waiting from that word kava, it's also the same root that's about weaving or braiding rope, bringing together disparate pieces. So what we're meant to do when we hear this waiting word, and of course, since you're all good, Hebrew scholars and are ready for this, the root is about making a piece of rope out of 3 pieces, disparate pieces that you weave together. I remember when Hannah was small, That's my daughter. She's going to be 32 this coming month. But when she was small, I was the hair braider, which was something that I had to, especially when she decided she wanted French braids. It was like a whole nother world for me. It's like, how much do you think I can braid this hair on top of my head? This is about how long it's always been since she was born. So no braiding happened for me. Linda never wanted me to braid her hair. But Hannah always, it was, Daddy, will you braid my hair? So I had to learn to braid, and I had to learn to braid it correctly. Well, the fortunate thing for me was, to some degree, as a Boy Scout, I had to learn to also braid rope together. As it became frayed at the end, you had to re-braid the various cords into one strong cord. And so what this passage invites, this waiting passage of Isaiah, is that we braid together our anticipation, our hope with God's faithfulness, trusting that God will come through, all together with the community that is waiting with us. Because we're all on the same page. We're waiting. We'd like God to break things open, get here, and fix things. But then Jesus comes into the picture, and he offers us another word besides waiting. And his word, well, there's a lot of words. But the word that's important for us, I'm not going to say it in Aramaic, it doesn't really matter. It means to watch, to keep awake and watch, to be attentive. This time is a sacred time. Pay attention. Be active in that. Just like waiting is an active process, if you're waiting, but you're braiding your trust of God into your anticipation, into the communities waiting with you. You're not alone when you wait. The same thing is true of watching. We're waiting for something sacred to happen. We're waiting for something sacred to happen. This Advent thing is all about sacred waiting. I have to be honest with you. It's been a while since I was in seminary, and when you're in seminary, they train you in all the seasons of the Christian year. Because, see, this is like our New Year. If you are, from the Christian perspective, this is like New Year. Closest thing to Happy New Year we've got. And then we read the passages like this one, and every year it's the same. Shadows, uncertainty, what's going on, how do we wait, how do we anticipate, what's going on with this. When I studied Advent, my professor, Professor Stuckey, always said, Happy Advent is not a greeting. It's like, okay, whatever. Originally, Advent was a time of fasting. Talk about waiting. You were supposed to fast in anticipation of Christmas. You were supposed to prepare your heart by taking seriously this waiting time, because you knew you were in between. You knew it's not yet. All we had to do was look around. It's interesting that the promise of this text is, before this generation passes away, Jesus is saying these words, before this generation passes away, these things will come to pass. What? 2,000 years later, I'm kind of waiting. I'm still kind of waiting. I thought that this was, maybe a generation lasts longer in heavenly timing than it does in my timing, because, 5 minutes is a long time for me. One generation is only, a couple of dozen years. This whole waiting forever seems tough. And then to watch in addition to that with intentionality, what am I watching for? What am I watching for? For that time when Christ's presence is real in my life, when it shows up. Because guess what? Much like the songs Donna chose for us this morning, it's about, particularly the choir's anthem. It's unexpected. I've set a schedule in my life, and I've got it neatly packaged. If you looked at I didn't used to, but since I've been a dueling, man, my schedule is like tightly packed. So when something gets messed up in there, throws me off my game. I don't know, do any of you have schedules that you follow, or maybe no schedules? You can just show up wherever you want to, whenever you want to. Is that exactly how it works? Is that how it works for you all? You know, Katie would probably be calling me if it's like 10:30, 10:45 and I'm still sitting at home. James, are you coming in today? Remember, we have these things that have to be done. She's my conscience. Thank goodness for Katie, because she keeps me on my game. In fact, she keeps me on the game, because I would be just lost. But we expect scheduling. So God, I've got 5 minutes for you at about 11:45. Can you pop in for like a 2-minute meeting and then disappear? I've got my timing for when God's supposed to show up. We do that on Sunday morning. We gather at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. We follow Doolin time, so maybe it's 9:45, maybe it's 10:12. Sometime in that window of time, we gather in this space, and when the community is here we are, and we say, okay, we've got an hour, God, can you pop in? We're expecting you to show up. And those are the moments of anticipation and uncertainty, and sometimes we are anticipating God showing up a certain way, ripping open the clouds, and God shows up in that still small voice, or in that simple reading that Linda and Alan did for us this morning, or it shows up sometimes, quite frankly. Some people tell me, I didn't really hear anything in your sermon today, but your children's sermon was good, James. And I'm like, wow, I spent 10 minutes on the children's sermon, I spent 20 hours on the sermon, and the one that worked for you was maybe I should just do children's sermons every week. I do them every week, don't I? So I guess, you get a choice. Waiting is not something we do well. We want things instantly. Watching while we're waiting, not good at that either. And yet, we're told to watch and to wait. Are there things in your life you're waiting for? Are there things that you can name in your heart this very moment that you're waiting for? I talk to some people and they're waiting for next year. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop, whatever that shoe is. Is there something you're waiting for in your life? And can you remember that 3-part braid in your life if you're waiting? You're waiting, God's faithfulness, and the community you sit in, because I'm here to tell you, when you wait, you're not waiting alone. Part of being the church, part of having community, part of having family, even blended family like Alan and Linda symbolized for us this morning, that didn't even appear in my symbolism until my wife gave me revelation. You aren't waiting alone. You have us as a community as we wait for what is next. With intention, with trust, we wait. As a child, this will date me. As a child, early September, late September, early October, the Sears and Roebuck Christmas catalog came. And I would wait with anxious, bated breath. I would volunteer to go and get the mail that the rest of the year I had to be berated into doing, because I was waiting for that to come. And if someone else got the mail before me, I was the eldest, so I got the responsibility of doing it. If my little sister or brother had the audacity to get the book first, because it would disappear. Whoever got the Christmas catalog, This is before a thing called the internet. So for most of you, this makes no sense at all. I'm speaking like a foreign language. There was actually a book that had pictures in it of things you could get and prices in it. I could even date myself more. There was a time when I needed to call one of you. I would find a great big ginormous book, and I would alphabetically flip through it and hope you were in there, unless you were past the last printing and then you weren't in there. But I would wait for that thing. And then once I had it, I would pore over all the pages about what Christmas at that time to me was about, which was my list of things I needed. Notice how I use the word needed when it's really wanted. We have things in our lives that we need, and we have things that we want. They're not the same things usually. Sometimes they're very different. But together we're in this, waiting together for the things we most need. You're not alone in this waiting, this desire for love to win out, this desire for hope to win out, so we don't feel like hope is empty. This is a tough season. There are a lot of expectations we begin to pour on this season. What's a perfect Christmas? I hope that I've told you enough times, there is no word perfect in Aramaic that Jesus would have taught in. There's complete, there's whole, but there's no such thing as perfect. There's only enough. There's only complete. What would it take for you to feel like your life was complete? Because that's what you're waiting for. That's what you're waiting for. Practice with me for just a moment. Close your eyes and think to yourself, what is the top thing on my list that I am waiting for? Take a deep breath, and then can you trust God in the midst of your waiting for whatever it is? And can you remember you're not waiting alone? We're in this together. Your assignment this week is to wait, to practice waiting patiently. So if you have a doctor's appointment this week and it starts at 10 and you're still in the waiting room at 10:25, I'm trying to picture myself at 10:25, but be patient. Be patient like someone you know who's patient. Maybe not like me. Although I have a lot more patience now than I once did. Practice patience whenever you have to wait. When you're at a light and the light turns green, don't say a nanosecond later you've got to hit the horn because the person hasn't moved in front of you. You know, our neurons don't fire that fast. I just want to tell you. Now, if 22 seconds pass and they still haven't moved because they're reading their phone, which, by the way, is illegal in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm sure none of you ever do it. But then maybe a light tap, not the I hear that all the time. The light hasn't even turned and it's already happening. Practice patience in all the places you are. You can't go any faster than the traffic in front of you is going, wherever you're going to. You can't. So instead of letting it be the bane of your existence, let it be the practice of waiting. Let it be an opportunity to slow yourself down and say, all I got is this time with you, God, here in the car. This is a great moment for prayer. You were looking for that moment in my life. Jesus Christ, give me patience while I'm in this line of cars. I'd love to tell you about my commute to work. It's really hard. I walk down the hill. There are rarely cars, and if there are, they stop and let me go. It's amazing. I'm sure that's your exact experience wherever you're going in Northern Virginia. They stop and let you go. But as funny as it may be, this is a season for us to practice waiting. Practice well this week, my friends. Whether you succeed or not, just keep practicing. Just keep practicing. In response to the word, I want to invite you to take a moment with me to confess.